Folks, thanks for joining us today. My name is John Dubas with Premier Marketing, and we'll be spending the next 50 minutes or so discussing one of the avenues that agents can take to establish themselves as a subject matter expert in a particular area, but also appeal to a demographic that may not be responding to other means of marketing outreach. By utilizing some of the centers of influence in a community, we can make a big difference as to helping that community, but also penetrating a portion of the market that we're not seeing some of the response that we're getting from TV, radio, direct mail, internet, a whole number of other avenues that we can use to generate interest. But what we're looking to do now is establish a relationship with a trusted center, perhaps the most trusted center of influence in the community. And that is working with and through faith-based organizations. Today's presentation is being recorded and it will be made available as it updates on our website at premiersmi.com and on our YouTube channel as well. For those who have raised their hands in interest to today's presentation, it will also be receiving an email follow-up with a link to that recording and perhaps some additional information that we'll cover throughout the presentation itself. With that said, we want to make certain that you realize that the software package does have a section for questions, and we ask that you put your questions in that section. We find that we cover many of them through the course of the presentation, but we'll make certain that we have answered your inquiries and make certain that you receive the full return on the investment of your time. Pardon me, checking out a question to start. As a bit of a level set in the beginning, a bit of information about Premier itself. We are a national marketing organization founded in 1968. That's part of the Integrity Marketing Platform. We have offices across the country, licensed in all 50 states. We act as an insurance wholesaler through independent insurance agents such as yourself, and we do so through contracts that are at the highest possible commission levels with recruiting contracts available. And we do so through a full portfolio of products, the base Medicare programs, the Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement, and standalone prescription drug programs, but also a portfolio of life insurance and annuity products, final expense life insurance, pre-need plans, long and short-term care programs, disability income plans, and the ancillary benefits such as dental, vision, hearing programs, critical illness cancer plans, hospital indemnity programs, accident and telehealth. We go through all this because these are potential topics to use in discussions with faith-based organizations and as a means of presentation to the congregation that they host. That Medicare Advantage portfolio includes the national carriers and many of the strong regional carriers that make a difference for you in your particular target market. And that same thing applies, with the prescription drug programs, where these are generally part of that MA contract itself. One notable exception, Mutual of Omaha, that's a separate contract from any of their other programs and is a PDP program alone. And the Clever RX program is actually a discount program, not a full-fledged prescription drug plan qualified by the government. In the Medicare Supplement arena, we find in many circumstances this is a great topic to utilize in our discussion with faith-based organizations. We offer a full portfolio of these products and different programs put in play to help you be successful in this area as well. We want to make certain that we're able to address the needs with options for people across the spectrum of the Medicare demographic, and that includes people of different income levels and different needs when it comes to network or no network in this particular instance. When we look at ancillary products, in each of these categories, we have the leaders for you in that space, and these programs create not just a means of covering additional needs for our prospects and clients, which of course is foremost in our mind, but it also gives us an additional revenue stream, another way to market, and another program to present on a platform that can be virtual or live when it comes to presentations, seminars, webinars, whatever it is, to help reach into the community through the partners that are being served by our folks here as well. Looking at the Medicare market overall, you don't come on a program like today's without hearing about the aging of the baby boomers, the silver tsunami, one every 10 seconds, 10,000 plus a day, all well and good. If it actually happens, then hey, they're not all in our target markets for one thing, but we're finding that a lot of folks now are working past the age of 65 for one reason or another. Part of it's been influenced by the last couple of years and the circumstance we're seeing with the pandemic. Some folks, as that we reach the tail end of the baby boomers, are looking at how do I get full retirement from Social Security, and I have to perhaps work up to even age 67. So there are a number of reasons why folks continue to work past the age of 65. Hey, some folks like what they do and they want to continue to work, but that whittles down this particular number so that 63 million or so isn't actually just 65 plus folks, because there are folks in that demographic that aren't accessing all their Medicare benefits. However, you see that 15 to 17% actually of the folks that are on Medicare are under the age of 65, medically disabled. And this is a portion of the demographic that those of us active in the Medicare space have a bit more of a challenge of finding, locating these people, getting them to raise their hand, working with that trusted, valued center of influence in the community can help discover this demographic, help reach out to these folks, and help them get the information they need to make a qualified decision. Because, well, hey, the Medicare population overall, 2/3 of them have 3+ chronic conditions, and many of them have challenges with their income and assets. So we want to be able to deliver upon solutions to their challenges based on their own individual needs and the choices that they make to get there, because they have a number of choices they can and do make. One, they can decline Part B of Medicare should they choose to do so. Thankfully, most don't. Some do for valid reasons if they have other coverage at work or whatever it happens to be. But then there are folks that take Medicare A and B and run with just that. Some of those folks will then add a Part D prescription drug program to help deal with some of the cost of medications. Some will look at taking out a standardized, modernized Medicare supplement program to take care of those financial shortfalls in the base Medicare coverage and add in that prescription drug program, since the Medigap policies do not have drug coverage. And I'm not talking about the old Plan J's. The programs that are available to folks now, they need to pick up that standalone Part D to get that prescription drug coverage. And then there's, of course, the option of bundling it all together through the Part C programs, the Medicare Advantage plans. In each of these areas, people have very legitimate choices or legitimate reasons to make a choice in each of those categories. And we want to make certain that we can help them across the board. Because, hey, pre-pandemic, there was a pretty even split of what we saw between Medicare Advantage and Medicare Supplement plans. The last couple of years, we're seeing more and more enrollments into the Medicare Advantage plans, and recent pieces of information provided to us by third-party demographic gatherers, shall we put it that way, Mark Farah, they are projecting that the Medicare Advantage plans will become the program of choice in the very near future. That doesn't mean that that's the right choice for everyone. So we want to make certain that we have the programs in play that can help people in each of these areas, and then also have the presentations to help make people aware of the strengths and weaknesses of their choices, because there is strengths and weaknesses of every choice that they have. And we see then that pocket of population that still shows up as original Medicare only. Well, that can be people that made a decision to make a decision that that decision was to do nothing. So they have just original Medicare. But this also includes the folks that are dual beneficiaries, Medicare, Medicaid folks. Are you prepared to present to that through the faith-based community? There are also folks in there that are accessing care through the VA. Are you prepared for a presentation in that manner? And then, of course, folks that have retirement coverage, coverage through unions, different places they may have worked in the past. So we have in each of these choices possibilities, not only to make certain that we have the underlying assistance with different coverages for these, but also to make certain that we're able to address these as topics. These may well be the hot button that gets you into one of these centers of influence and make you a viable partner in the faith-based community. And in doing so, we need to translate some of the language that's being thrown at us. Every segment of our society, every piece of our world has a bit of their own language. And sometimes that goes into those, what's an AEP, what's an SEP, what's a IEP, what's an MOUSC, whatever it happens to be, can we translate it? Part of what you'll receive is a follow-up. As part of the follow-up to today's presentation is a link to this guide provided to us by the Medicare Learning Network, a governmental site that will give us that translation. I've been doing this for longer than I care to admit, and every now and then I'll go, what do they mean by that? Well, this helps us translate and reminds us also that during our conversations with prospects and clients, we use as few acronyms as possible in order to properly communicate with the people that we're visiting with. And that includes then dealing with the enrollment periods that are thrust upon us by the well-meaning oversight of a big brother. The government and their regulations give us the standard enrollment periods that we deal with each and every year. We're currently in the OEP section. We have to be careful about how we reference that or market that, but we also have the opportunity to utilize this to its advantage, particularly when we're looking at the folks that have a Medicare Advantage plan, because that's basically what this time period through the end of this month in March deals with in helping people change some of their programs. And that's important because many, as we'll discover in just a little bit, have not reviewed their coverages during the annual election period, during October 15th through December 7th. And they may now be discovering some changes in their programs that are prompting them to do a deeper dive into their benefit package. This gives them the opportunity to change from one MA plan to another, one MAPD plan to another, a mix between those with and without drug coverage, drop an MAPD plan, go back to original Medicare, look at a Medicare supplement, pick up that standardized prescription drug program, and do some different things here. It's not a continuation of AEP. So someone who has just original Medicare can't get into MAPD plans utilizing the OEP. Throwing a lot of acronyms at you here where I told you not to do it. But this gives us then the opportunity to help people that may not have done their due diligence during the open enrollment period and still have the opportunity to change. But let's look at it from a logical point of view as well. The majority of people on Medicare, even during lock-in, have an opportunity to change their coverages should they qualify for a special election period, those SEPs. There's a ton of standardized ones. We see some of them more frequently come into play than others. A lot of them deal with moving, income assets, aging in, those different things that come into play that we see most standardly. And Mother Nature contributes in many circumstances too with a special election period based on certain circumstances across the board. You'll see this come to you as part of the follow-up to the latest of these governmental sites or governmental intervention based on weather and other circumstances that give people an opportunity to change if they qualify for that piece. So we see a bunch of different things that will come into play, and it's important because Kaiser Family Foundation tells us that regardless of the type of coverage that an individual has on Medicare, they're not looking at it year over year, the majority of folks anyway. Some of the latest statistics they have available, 70% of the population is not comparing their Medicare plans during open enrollment, and this can cause some challenges and comes with financial ramifications. We all know that coverages can and do change year over year in the Medicare Advantage and prescription drug space. So regardless of whether or not you're involved in MA, you've got Medicare Supplement clients, they've got some challenges with their drug plans if they are not reviewing it year over year. And if you are involved in the Medicare Advantage space, this is particularly an influence for the folks that are most highly vulnerable And we want to make certain that we have the information that's necessary to get them detail as to how they can address this. Because even the standalone drug plans aren't being renewed or reviewed. The governmental assistance programs, be it online or whatever it happens to be, their Medicare and U-Book in paper form or e-format, the online applications that can help them discover what is and isn't covered, even some of the detail they put out. And there's some good stuff that the government puts out to help people with understanding their Medicare choices. They're not using it. Majority of them are not anyway. And so we want to deliver upon information in the manner that best helps these folks, and they can actually understand and assimilate in that information and know what they have and what they need to do. Sometimes what they need to do is nothing. But if they don't check, how are they going to know? This is particularly important for today's topic because that virtual situation, well, that delivery's been taught to folks in this demographic across the board where they're becoming increasingly digitally savvy. And that's laid out to them by a number of sources. Health plans are doing it out the wazoo, obviously, but so are the folks that are delivering the care, the doctors, the specialists, the hospitals, the dentists, even faith-based organizations are delivering their services through an electronic format. Sometimes that's a combination of the two delivery systems, but we're dealing with a population that is increasingly comfortable with receiving information digitally. And the folks that we look to work with in the faith-based space are some of the people that are best at delivering this. And so, as we look at marketing insurance through faith-based organizations, let's realize that right up front. Well, gee, John, there's a whole bunch of folks that still go to church, still go to mosque, still go to synagogue and worship with their faith-based family. You betcha, there are. And there are a whole bunch of those organizations that are delivering their services online as well. And that gives us a grand opportunity to help deliver content to that congregation, whatever the faith is. Delivering this information can really help us put our message out there, aid the congregation that we are working with in a number of fashions, and we'll talk about that specifically. But the delivery can be not just live, it can be virtual as well. So why do we want to work with the faith-based community? I think if you're on this webinar, you're well aware of why. And that's because it gives us an opportunity to present a number of different programs that may be of interest and may be of value to that congregation across the spectrum of products that we offer. Hence the piece of here's your full portfolio of programs. Because at this particular point in time of the year, as we go into March, folks that have made choices or rode a choice from the past as to their coverages for Medicare itself and the pieces that it does and doesn't cover, can we deliver upon that information to this community to make certain that they are up to date and that we are helping them minimize their financial ramifications, but also provide them the package of care that best serves their needs? And that goes beyond health insurance. That goes into life insurance, final expense, creating a legacy, and then all the ancillary products that are demand products for those folks we serve. Dental programs. Folks that are aging into Medicare now or picking up Medicare coverages now, many of them have had dental coverage through their employer in the past. Many of them anticipate having the same sort of need in the near future and are looking for help in that area. So giving detail as to the programs that are available in that space, dental, vision, hearing programs, laying out information on cancer plans. American Heart Association gave us a bunch of detail in February as to the challenges that people with cardiovascular difficulties have, having critical illness plans, heart attack, stroke plans, and delivering those presentations, be it hand in hand with a carrier or on a generic basis. We find that a lot of times the approach of here's the programs that are available in this space on a generic basis, and then moving into some specifics with carriers can be really helpful about getting the opportunity set up. Sometimes folks need that help with a carrier that's going to help them with the marketing piece or delivering upon the messages, whatever it happens to be. But this gives us an opportunity with a menu of programs across the plans and carriers that you're able to offer as a menu for the folks that we are approaching. And by presenting it in that trusted environment, be it live or virtually, gives us the opportunity to reach prospects that aren't responding to other means of outreach. Not everybody who listens to the 90 million commercials on television dial an 800 number for whatever organization, carrier, or celebrity happens to be pushing that particular program. This is an area where if we visit with leadership of the congregation of the church and gain their trust and help them realize what we're offering can make a huge difference to us. So it's also important that we go into these programs and realize that everything that we do in the insurance world frees up dollars someplace. And we're able then to maximize the budget of each of these individuals. And many of them are fervent in their support of their faith-based families. And by alleviating costs across the board, we're able then to help them contribute to their faith-based family. And it goes beyond that. Many of them, if they look into life insurance programs or things of that nature, one, it alleviates the pressure of the congregation to deal with final expense of these folks. And trust me, that does happen, particularly in certain sizes of congregation where an individual dies without the means for a proper burial. Congregation sometimes pitches in to take care of that. If we can help them realize that there are programs out there that can help them in that space, boom, it alleviates that particular pressure upon the congregation. It's also a means through life insurance where we can create a legacy as well. So even as we pass, it can give us the opportunity to make a difference to an organization that has meant so much to us in the past. So it gives us an opportunity to go beyond the health insurance segment of it into other means of directly affecting the financial viability of an organization that, much like everything else we see across the board, we drive down the road and we see strip malls that are now half empty or whatever it is because they depended so much on that live contact, and that's gone away for a degree. Some of it come back to a degree, not fully in many circumstances. Well, if we're able to celebrate online with our faith-based brethren, we can also contribute online as well. And so a lot of these options are still very, very viable for this particular avenue of marketing and supporting our community. So when we look at what this does for the congregation, one, it gives them the information they need to make a decision. And we have seen in some of the previous slides that, hey, that information's out there and they're not using it. And sometimes it just depends upon someone who's able to reach out, take them by the hand, and guide them through the process. It also, because we are, in essence, going to be vetted by these organizations as to what we do and how we deliver it, we have that tacit third-party endorsement of sorts that can make the difference for these people to realize that, hey, I can trust this individual. And as I trust that individual, I'm comfortable in the information that they're delivering. And you have then a much greater opportunity to not only deliver upon that information, but also create a means to affect change should that be in their best interest. So we have an opportunity to go through, in essence, a vetted sales process that gives us a means to reach into the community and help people with their needs across the board. When we look at some of the base programs, because a lot of this will boil down to Do we have variants of some of these coverages that can make a difference to the folks we're visiting with? Medicare Advantage plans, well, we saw that the median income, well, it's up to right around what, 26,600, 27,000 a year for the Medicare population. Obviously, you have folks of higher income that, gee, perhaps we'll do a presentation on IRMA, or we talk about how we can deal with estate planning or whatever it happens to be for the higher end of the folks in the Medicare arena. Well, then we have the folks that are dual beneficiaries. Can we deliver upon information on dual special needs plans and how that can make a difference not only to that individual, but for folks that are looking to make a greater contribution in support of their faith-based family? We pull out the Bible and speak to the Pharisees and their donation up front where everyone can see them, and then the widow woman taking from what she doesn't really have to contribute to the church. We're freeing up some of those financial obligations. We're able to help then in that area then to give them greater latitude with choices as to what to do with those dollars. But it also then really enthuses that population as to, hey, they're participating in the financial strength of their community. And by the way, they're being delivered healthcare that helps them be more active in that congregation as well. We also then have the opportunity to visit about Medicare supplement plans and the choices that are available there, the changes that have been brought about by MACRA a couple of years ago, how people that are coming on to Medicare now have different Medicare supplement choices available to them, and a couple that they don't have any longer, what those differences are. So you have presentations across these base medical coverages that can make a huge difference. And we're not even referencing an all important one, and that's how their drugs are covered. So having a presentation that speaks to prescription drug programs can make a huge difference, offering those individual analyses of what's going on, utilizing some of the tools that are out there to do that, be it through the plan finder on medicare.gov or through financial programs or our technological programs such as our Medicare Center that can help them make choices as to the programs that are available in those areas. So it makes a huge difference on base medical coverages and can really improve the circumstances of the folks that are part of that faith-based community. Same thing applies to life insurance to a degree, where we're able then to make certain that they're covering the needs of their nuclear family, the folks they are married to, procreate with, or whatever it happens to be. We're taking care of those folks too, but then perhaps establishing a charitable bequest for that community that has helped them through their lifetime as well. And boy, that can make a huge difference as to how some of that works. For folks that are more accustomed to or comfortable with a charitable bequest or some of the things that you can do to donate to a community or a charity, that's a big difference that can come into play. I remember when I was very young, my hometown congregation, an old bachelor passed away, and his estate went to the church. And what a difference that made to that community. Church needed a new roof. They were able to finance one through a portion of that inheritance, as a manner of speaking. Doing so through life insurance programs can make a huge difference, and offering that as one of the topics that you have on your menu as to, hey, we're looking for the financial viability of your congregation as well, because, hey, if the pandemic has affected the number of people that physically attend services, you still have to have the lights on, you still have to heat or cool, you still have to do all the other things that are set cost in just building management. These are some of the things that we can do to help ensure the viability even after our passing. So when you look at that life insurance and how that can affect the community, we've gone through a number of these programs or topics as to why that makes a difference. So looking beyond just the medical portion of it, and speaking to some of the things that you can do to help keep the lights on, so to speak, can make a huge difference. It gives you that opportunity to stand in front of, be it physically or through electronic means, and visit about these topics. You can't have a better sales environment, shall I put it that way? A means of distributing the information that you offer on programs that you're comfortable with or become comfortable with, because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can help with that. You can find congregations, obviously, drive up and down the street. You can look for churches if you want to. Here's a great website that can help you locate them in your target market. Church Angel will come up with a listing of congregations of all faiths within the community, the Christian community in this circumstance, and it gives you then the contact information to reach out with them, be it live or telephonically or electronically in many circumstances. What works the best? Well, right about now, it's kind of a mix, because some of the mid to smaller range churches do not staff all the time, all through the week. And so a lot of it's handled telephonically. There's your answer with that. Some of the bigger communities, it's like not to sound sacrilegious in the manner of speaking, it's a bit of a business as well. They need the people there to run that location. And so it gives you the opportunity to do different things with different sized communities. You'll find that some of the larger congregations will say, hey, we've got insurance agents within our community. Are they doing anything with you? Are they helping you? These are some of the things that we can present based on what we have available as resources through ourselves as agents and through the community that we represent, the programs that we represent with this. And we're happy to work with agents in the community as well. But hey, I'm here now. I'm offering these services. These are some of the things that we can deliver. Do the same things with other faiths. You can find synagogues in the community. This is a great website to do that. That can help in that area. Same thing if we go into where are the mosques? Well, this can help you locate them as well. Maybe inappropriate, but hey, I work that way sometimes. God bless Google search engines, whatever it happens to be. It gives you the opportunity to locate these communities. And sometimes the choice of what we do with whom, well, delivers upon our comfort level, comes from our comfort level, I should say. But that is also some of the things that we reach out to our own faith family first. For folks that are in the life insurance world, oh, gee, nearly 40 years ago now, I'm really showing the gray in my beard and the teeth that aren't what they used to be. We used to have to come up with a list of here's your 50 best prospects to start, your top 100, and a whole bunch of them were family. Nuclear family, faith-based family, whatever it happens to be. Don't you want to reach out to the people that are most important to you and help them if you are able? And that includes people of whatever faith we are professing. If we don't have a faith, well, this allows you then to do what is right as well and help locate the people that need your assistance and deliver upon informational programs that turn into sales opportunities that help everyone that's involved. Because, hey, faith-based organizations, depending upon their size, many of them have senior groups that directly address this demographic within their community. Pardon me, flipping back and forth here. One of the organizations or the churches that I went to was All Saints. It had Golden Saints, a senior group. Many of the larger organizations are for folks that are in a particular area affected by a certain circumstance. Well, they have caregiver support groups as well, grief counseling, different pieces of people that meet for particular needs based on their own circumstances. We can tailor presentations to that. Social organizations come as part of it as well. Groups like Romeos. You know what Romeos are? Retired old men eating out. Sometimes that is a subset of some of the social organizations that come into play that can be a part of our presentation to a subset of the congregation. And in the different circumstances that we've seen pre-pandemic or based on certain communities now as well, organized activities. Churches, synagogues, mosques will have health fairs. They will have other things that they set up that they are looking for support for as well. And we are sometimes able to help them in that regard. And a lot of it comes to just the base discovery process. Because if you go into a church or a synagogue or a mosque, who are you going to talk to? Well, they don't always have that placard on the front of the desk saying, hey, I'm the one that schedules activities. Or, gee, you got to go through me to get to a community or a committee, I should say, that's going to give you the opportunity to visit about different programs. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of the faith-based organizations will reach out and help to folks in their community that are in need. And sometimes then approaching them with somewhat detail about the assistance program is a great door opener. Talking about the extra help programs, the low income subsidy plans, the Medicare savings accounts, the different assistance programs that are out there. The National Council on Aging actually has presentations on meals or support in that area. Different places that, or different topics that can really help in that area because, well, people in need, sometimes where do they go to first? They go to their church or they go to a church in their community that offers such programs, food banks, as part of that church, as part of their community outreach. How can we support each of those areas? But in order to do so, we've got to discover, how do we talk to someone about it? So we ask some base questions. Who handles some of these programs? What's the best time and number to reach them? Do they work specifically for the senior community, the folks on Medicare? Do they address the community at large? So if you're working under 65 programs, how can you help them? Do they have groups that are designated for the seniors within the congregation? Base questions that we can use without being intimidating, without being the WKRP's Herb Tarlick opening our plaid jacket and say, hey, you want to buy a watch type of thing? Not that way. We're just doing some discovery to find out who we actually need to talk to. And in doing so, as we converse with the people that may be giving us this information, making them aware of our intent, some of the programs that we have available, getting their buy-in so they can be an advocate within that congregation for us can make a huge difference. And in doing so, it gives us a number of different approaches that we can use. Some of that may be predicated by our comfort level in each of those different areas. So if we're talking about community outreach, helping the folks that are perhaps a bit less fortunate, that's one approach with some of the different tools that are out there. Or going the other end of the spectrum where, hey, your organization may have some financial challenges because of what's gone on. Here's some programs that can help not only your community, but your organization as well. And that may well be the same person that designates the calendar or helps with the calendar for presentations, or it might be someone completely different, depending upon the size of the congregation or what all is involved. We don't know until we ask. And a lot of times, how we ask can make a huge difference because it gives us then the opportunity to go in with the right product as our lead product. But we have some ideas as to how you can look at the entire bundle as well. And so it can help make the people aware of the fact that you have different presentations that are available, that you can help people based on confusion within the marketplace, some of the assistance programs that might be there, or whatever else may be part of that approach. And it gives us then not only to look at the family that they serve within their community specifically, but also with the community at large. So you can help them with their presence in what they're doing for community outreach as well. And so that gives us then additional approaches that we can use on an educational basis, how you can deliver that message and get the information that's needed, perhaps to get the approval, because hey, it might not just be a person, it may have to go to a community. How can you deliver that, finger quotes working, pitch to the folks that can say yay or nay as to what you can do? Keeping options out there, no matter what your base approach is. If someone says, hey, we're not interested in that, we've got that handle, or whatever it happens to be, well, I've got a full menu of topics that can be very helpful for you and your congregation. Here's some additional detail. And that goes into your ability to do things as a third party on a generic basis or on specific targeted programs that lays out the opportunity to deliver that information and render value to the community. Setting up the event, doing some of the detail, well, it requires that contact within the organization that you're approaching, be it churches or whatever other center of influence. Same approach can help in other areas as well. But we've got to find out who that person is that handles this. Sometimes this is the telephone conversation. This may be the conversation we're having live with the people in the church offices. Think of that. What can be more effective? It's much like the approach that we talked about last week when we're dealing with providers. Sometimes doing it telephonically can be most efficient. Sometimes, however, doing it face to face can be most effective. It depends upon that circumstance. They can't hang up on you if you're in front of them. They can kick you out, but they can't hang up on you. Well, they're most of the time, if they're in a faith-based organization, they're not going to be rude and just kick you out, show you the door. We got to make certain that we're able to do some things effectively and efficiently as well too. A lot of it depends upon your approach. The meek may inherit the earth, but it doesn't necessarily get a whole bunch of appointments in that particular situation. So we want you to be comfortable with what you're looking to deliver and be prepared. And with that preparation comes confidence. It gives you then a piece to review some of these base information. It's not rocket science at all, but a lot of it is then making certain that you're able to present yourself as a subject matter expert, or if you don't have an answer for a particular question, you have the resources to get that answer and deliver upon that detail that the congregation needs. You're not in there just to build a castle in sand. We're out there to have a solid foundation and make certain that it works as well. And a lot of that depends upon, gee, what are you delivering as information, and are you following up properly? Because in many circumstances, that initial contact is not necessarily going to get you on the calendar right away. Sometimes it takes a number of approaches and follow up in order to do so. And so how are you going to deliver upon some of that follow up? Well, one of the pieces that we do have available is a bit of a curriculum vitae, a resume, a whatever it is. Here's a description of you and what you do. And part of the follow up that you'll get is my version of that. Here's John. This is who he is. This is some of the things that he can do to positively affect your community. Watch for that, because I think it's a very valuable piece. And a lot of what we're dealing with here is also intangibles. And sometimes having something they can touch, read, look at, delivered on paper, if you're visiting face to face, or electronically, however it happens to be, or a combination of the two. You delivered a paper contact or paper piece when you initially visited, and you're following up with that electronically as well. Because let's face it, electronic delivery is much more shareable, so you can get more people involved. I recommend strongly, no matter what your approach is, that you deliver upon electronic means of follow-up on these topics. It's important to note at this particular point in time of the year as well, is we may have people that didn't do their review. They're confused by, gee, what do I really have as coverages on my medical portion of it? Man, why are my drug costs so different now? Formulary changes, tier changes, whatever it happens to be. Some of them are just bloody confused about some of the choices that are out there, propagated by the plethora of commercials that we see on television now. Am I getting everything I'm entitled to? And is it free? Well, here's some of the things that are available. I'm going to show you what's choices, options that you have in this market. And depending upon your circumstances, we'll be able to find what might well be most appropriate for you. Some congregations are very active into community outreach as well. So having these details available and having that church, that synagogue, that mosque not only reach out to their membership, but also the community at large as part of the services that they deliver can make a big difference as well as to reaching in not just to that particular religious community, but also the neighborhood at large. One of the things that we find most helpful as well is mentioning that the initial presentation is information only. We're not there to just sign people up on the first draw. However, there's always a but, isn't there? If we have folks that have raised their hand and want to pursue this further, we can do a one-off with them, or we can follow up with another meeting for the congregation at large as an enrollment meeting as well. And by the way, we would like your help in publicizing all of these events that we are scheduling through perhaps through the church bulletin, website if you have it, notices in the church itself, whatever it happens to be. And there are congregations where that's delivered from the pulpit as part of the sermon, the homily, whatever it happens to be. It's, by the way, we're offering this information through our trusted associate, and that can make a huge difference as to attendance. So what are some of these topics? You guys know them. There's a million of them out there, but these are some of the standard things that we have where you don't have to recreate the wheel. We've got a number of programs taken from the Medicare Learning Network, from carriers of our own design that go into these different areas. You have folks in particularly larger communities where there's a bigger number of folks that are turning 65 or are now leaving jobs and the marketplace, and they need to deal with getting into Medicare fully on a timely basis to avoid penalties. So how do I start with Medicare? What are my options? What is an explanation of Medicare itself? A Medicare number 101 class, Medicare made clear, the options that an individual has, and then detail on those separate options. Here are the details on Medicare Advantage plans, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The same thing with Medigap plans, the Medicare Supplement programs, and the Part D programs. How do you deal with telehealth? Big topic nowadays. Utilization of this peaked quite a bit about a few months ago, but it is a topic that is of great discussion moving forward. And then those support programs that I spoke of, and Social Security. What options should I take? When should I file? All those things. How it affects our other coverages and other needs. That marriage between Social Security and Medicare. The challenges that many people think with Social Security being able to deliver upon all our retirement needs. That's a chuckle. And gee, Social Security is going to cover our burial. Not so much. At 255, if you do qualify for it, won't even open a grave. So what do we have as options in that area as well? And then, of course, I mentioned the programs that are designated for certain circumstances, cancer programs, how that is a great cost factor if you survive or not. Heart attack, stroke programs, and then those demand programs for day-to-day needs on dental, vision, hearing programs. Final expense, we got a great program that helps them with pre-planning through our legacy safeguard programs. And then, of course, those charitable bequests that I mentioned. How do you deliver upon the transfer of your estate on your passing to your faith-based organization if that's appropriate, or am I setting up a legacy using life insurance programs? You got a million topics there. You don't have to recreate the wheel with any of them. They're all available for you, and we can deliver upon that with our contracted agents. It's important to remain in line of sight for the folks that you approach that have either expressed interest or, hey, you got somebody to talk to because you don't know what their hot button is. Doing some things that are available and then making certain that they're aware of, here's a topic that we're presenting this quarter, and you can rotate through whatever it happens to be, depending upon some of the response that you got in the discussions. Look to do that at least quarterly and be consistent with it, because the consistency is much like your exercise program. You do it just once, you might get something out of it, you might not, but you're going to feel a bit of the pain. If you're going to do it consistently, that's where you're going to see some of the returns on the investment of your time and your efforts. So, as you do procure these appointments, these times on the calendar, your presentations, you got to make certain that you've done your prep work and that you're prepared. If you're in the Medicare space, file it as a sales event and make certain that you can get support from some of the contractors, or pardon me, the carriers that you contract with, if appropriate, or you have the detail through your marketing hierarchy to deliver upon these presentations. Make certain you know that presentation and that you have the material that you need to deliver that effectively. A lot of that can be done electronically, obviously, if you're doing it through a webinar, or sometimes people just like touching and feeling things, tactile material, and that can be available to you as well. There's a great place or a great site that the government makes available to us, a CMS site, where you can actually go in there and order Medicare calendars, 50 a month, and utilize that as some of the material you can use for these presentations, and help them market it. Give them details as to how you can make this successful. You got the material in there that can do it. There's some great pieces on different agent toolkits from the different carriers. A few of them generic in nature, where you can publicize such events and do so compliantly. Practicing the presentation, being able to deliver upon it makes a huge difference. Obviously, you want to be effective. And then once again, not only following up with the folks that are at the presentation or would raise their hand and missed it, but also with the folks that you dealt with in that congregation that helped set up such an event. Once again, utilize the portfolio, because you don't know what the hot button is for the folks that you're visiting with, and you have that available. And once again, make certain that you're prepared. You've done your training with the base Medicare programs or whatever program that you're approaching with, and the products that can affect a solution to those needs. Sometimes the carriers that you work with will offer additional trainings. We want to make certain that that's there for you. We mentioned that today's presentation is being recorded. Past presentations have been as well. So in many of these areas, you have that detail available for you, and you don't have to wait for the next live one, even though we do a ton of them. You have some of the past presentations that are available on our website, our YouTube channel 24/7. You can do your prep that way as well. We look for you to do this with us because we're going to help you across the entire process, but also in base preparation. In order to deliver on some of the solutions, you got to have contracts. Insurance Bay gives you an opportunity to create your agent profile, do electronic contracting. Hey, the process is that way across the board. Everything's going electronic for good reasons. This is a way to store all that information and do contracting electronically. Certain carriers don't participate, and certain carriers we may be able to push that process a little more quickly by doing some things directly with a carrier electronically. But this can be a great help for you across the board when we're looking at multiple, I should say, carriers that we need to have in our pocket. And sometimes in order to get that, well, just about every insurance program now requires errors and omissions coverage. We have a discounted errors and omissions program for our qualified agents. What makes you a qualified agent? you got to contract with us. But this is a program you own. It's not adding you to a blanket E&O for just one product where you have to worry about how am I going to cover myself in other areas. It's a program you own, and it covers that requirement with the insurance companies, no matter who you contract through. If you're working with our carriers only, obviously there's a little bit of a discount there, but we're going to make certain that we protect you in this area as well. And also in making certain that your license stays into play with bundled continuing education courses through our association with WebCE. We also give you the opportunity to protect your own earning potential through a modified guarantee issued DI program, disability income plan, where you're paid on a commission on protection for yourself. Once again, these resources are available for you 24/7 through our website, on our YouTube channel, where you have detail where you can go in and look at certain programs, review this one once again, speak to how this can be an outreach into touching providers that you discover that are common to a congregation, working with them. Hey, I'm working with St. Rita's down the road. A lot of the folks there are utilizing you as a provider. Here's some of the things that we're speaking with them about. We can do this with your other patients as well. Spider out into the community, and utilizing these resources give you an idea as to how to do that. I talked a little bit about the electronic services that are available for you as well. Medicare Center, man, I cannot speak highly enough of this. It is, as JJ Walker says on the commercials, it's free to contracted agents within the Integrity platform, Premier Marketing in particular, where you got an all-in-one universal login to 3 different quoting engines powered by Connector, Sunfire, and CSG. That's a way to process and hold the scope of appointments to keep you compliant through a number of different means, a CRM to work these folks throughout the year and year over year on reviews as well. And then it's got something in there that's not listed, and that's a resource center that includes scripts, other ways of making you more comfortable with approaching the community that you serve. Really cool tool in there to help you cross sell too through CSG. They got a lot of really neat adjunct programs that include heat maps, electronic enrollment pieces, different things that can come into play that can help you be more effective when you think, man, I hit a dead end. They're going to change their base program. Well, gee, do they need a hospital indemnity program? Do they need more dental coverage? Or do I need to come back and speak to them about final expense or life insurance? Since they're non-health programs, and you can't do that on the initial appointment on a health program. Different companies do pay differently as well. The max compensation for MA and PDP programs are set by the government. Just about every carrier I know of that they deliver upon that on a max compensation program. But med subs, ancillary programs, they may have additional incentives that can help you qualify for carrier trips, and our own incentive programs as well. That it's important for us that we have a page on our website so you can go to one place and get that detail to make certain that you are receiving all of the compensation that you are entitled to. Additional lead programs outside of these faith-based or community-based programs, maximizing your value in retail, how you can coordinate everything all into one. But there are programs out there that do allow you to smile and dial. Good luck with some of that now with the do not call list and all the other pieces that are out there with programs that are doing that illegally. But it's a great way to build your funnel with a novel approach, perhaps. Okay, are you cold calling or med subs? You can do that. You cold calling for MA or PDP plans? You better not, because you can't do that. But you can for final expense. You can for demand product like dental. And since most dental programs, the rates increase at 65, it's a great way to prompt along that conversation into a sale as well. Working with carriers, particularly in some of these submarkets, when you deal with dual special needs plans, you have carrier partners that may be partnering with you as well to generate prospects and deliver upon that. That's a symbiotic relationship. We need to be aware of that. But we also have internet leads and a direct mail support program, a T65 locator I'll talk about in a moment, and a way to maximize each lead into multiple leads through becoming comfortable with the referral process, and just reminding ourselves to ask. That lead program for direct mail, it's a two-pronged program based on production, deeply discounts the cost of it. You can qualify twice, once for health programs and once for final expense. It gives us then the opportunity to do that consistently. Once we visit with congregations and we follow up consistently, while doing the same thing with direct mail can make a big difference. You have that solid lead flow and you have it set up because, hey, this is not a microwave lead process. It takes a while for the leads to go out, for them to respond. And we then want to make certain that the vendors that we're working with in this space have the technology to help us hit these folks when they're as hot as possible. They're coming into their CRM programs, and we're able then to get them at the hottest. If we're not able to afford a full program, or if we're looking to fill in our calendars, we also have a program for direct mail leads that come back, never been touched, still warm. Prices will vary according to the market and according to the time of the year, but it's a great way to fill your calendar and peg in some of these different areas to keep you consistently productive. Those internet lead programs, well, it's Facebook programs for final expense and Medicare as well. This is a quicker response, but it is also one of those programs that we need to make certain that you are able to respond as quickly as well, because people are expecting that quick response. That T65 locator, much as what we've talked about with all these other programs, Medicare Center, no cost to you as an agent with a contract. Same thing with our T65 locator, where it's a program you download to your smartphone, and it helps you identify people in the community that may be in need of your help. And it deals with some of the things we need to be careful with on a compliance basis as well. Swing door knock for final expense. Whole bunch of final expense agents, that's their main means of contacting people. This helps locate people in different age demographics geographically. Same thing for med sups. You can door knock for that. Got to be careful when you get into the Medicare world in order to stay compliant. But this is something you download to your phone. You register right through your smartphone. We find you got a contract with us. Sis, boom, bah, here you go. You got another tool to work with. That referral program is not just for the sales process, not just for the folks we visit with initially. It's also another means that we can go back to and keep our book of business engaged and mine them for additional leads as well. We say all this and we do all this because we want your business. We want to be referable for you and to you as well. And so the folks that you deal with within our organization, our agent success managers, the marketers that you deal with are highly proficient in these different areas. And like everybody, we have our strengths and weaknesses, but we got the material there to help you be successful in this space and make marketing through faith-based communities a viable part of your marketing plan. And it's something you can put into play right away. You don't have to wait around for open enrollment. You got a ton of topics that you can go with. You also don't have to worry about certification across the board. You do with MA and PDP programs and one med sup plan. The rest of it, man, as John Wayne said in the movie The Cowboys, slap a piece of bacon in that biscuit, saddle up, let's ride, we're burning daylight. You can put it into play right away. So all that said and done, I'm going to check really quick to see if I've missed any questions. And I got to tell you, that's the joy of having a whole bunch of caffeine in your life. I appear to have qualified or covered everything that we were looking for. I want to end basically by thanking you. We appreciate the time that you put in and invested with us here today, and we want to give you means to reach us as well. So speaking to us through our toll-free number at 1-800-365-8208 will put you in touch with a marketer you've been working with within Premier. You don't have someone, we'll set you up with a subject matter expert to help you in that regard. You can also reach out to us through our website at premiersmi.com and watch for the follow-up. So tag me as a trusted sender. The links are going to be clean. The attachments are still going to be good. We're not compromising your system in any fashion. You can respond to that email and say, hey, John, what about this? Can you help me here? If I cannot, I'm going to make certain that we're able to kick that information to you in a timely fashion. For those of you that have done business with us in the past, I thank you for that business. For those of you that are considering doing it in the future, I thank you for that opportunity. But once again, I thank you for the time that you've spent with us here today. And until we're able to visit again, I wish you good selling. Thanks so very much. We'll talk soon.